Nick, you got it all wrong. You're not supposed to play with it, you're supposed to play on it.
Whoa.
We're not gonna build a gaming piece, we're going to build a diorama.
Do I need to get another one? Tack? Hello, Play on Tabletoppers. My name is Nick, and welcome to Play on Tabletop. I just can't do it as fast as Dave. I just can't do it. Hello, my name is Guy, and welcome to Midwinter Minis. Man, how does he do it? I gotta find my own. Well, whatever. Welcome to the next installment of Nick Tries to Build the Manta by himself. You know, when I started this challenge, I thought this would be a really cool team activity. You know, team building challenge, work together, everybody pitch in. Perhaps, though, they realized what was ahead. I realize now I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I've built a couple Forge World models in the past, my Tiger Shark, my Taunar, but never something quite this big. It's a whole nother ball game. Lots of big solid chunks of resin that require a lot of work. And here I am, almost a month later, having issued a challenge to one of the most experienced Forge World builders on the internet. And in that time, he's put out 2 videos. Make that 3 videos, come on! To be fair, he didn't actually accept the challenge though, so maybe it's not still going on, I don't know. I do appreciate the shout out though, thank you. And I am still trying to do this in my spare time while holding down a day job, while raising 3 kids, and still trying to do a bunch of work for PlayOn. It hasn't been easy. Also, he did say he was making a display board and not gonna play with it. And I specifically said in the challenge, ready to play with. So does that mean I automatically win? Actually, no, I'm pretty sure Games Workshop is the one that wins here because with the amount of Forge World resin that we've bought, they could probably finance a small country's GDP. I'm at about 20 to 30 hours on this just as it is, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but I've spent a lot of time on it. I've counted and sorted the pieces, and we're not missing any. Then it was time to wash everything in warm soapy water. I did manage to enlist a little bit of help here. Good work, boys. Good work. In reality though, I gotta give a shout out to my oldest son. He actually did do quite a bit of help, helping me to clip off all the smaller pieces. So what I've done so far is I've removed the gates, clipped the sprues, done some sanding to help the pieces fit a little bit better, glued a few of the smaller pieces together, and planned out where I'm gonna put the LEDs. It's no small task because it's gonna require a lot of drilling into the fuselage to get it working right. So the plan with LEDs, first of all, I wanna put engine lights on. So I'm probably gonna hollow out the back of this here. And then each of these, I'd like to put an LED in. Right here, this is where the guns go, but beside each of them is this little, it's like a sensor light here. I'd like to put lights in each of those. I'm gonna have to drill into the barrel and probably have all the wires come inside into the cockpit here. I'm gonna attempt to put an LED here. I'm hoping to put running lights here and here. I want to put lights here and here so the pilots are illuminated when they're in the cockpit. This is the top of the infantry compartment. These are actually supposed to be lights, so I'd like to put some strip LED lighting here, and probably hide the wires up here. I want to hollow out this viewport here so you can see these lights from outside. I've already done that with the front cockpit. I've hollowed out the viewport there, and I've actually put some plastic in there. This is the top that fits over top of the vehicle bay, and I want to put some running lights over here and here so that the vehicle bay is illuminated as well. This model is huge and really daunting. However, there's not actually as many pieces as I thought there'd be. I counted it up and there's just under about 200 pieces. And something like the GW Repulsor, for instance, has 168 pieces, so it's not actually that far off. They're just really big pieces. The amount of work really comes from trying to get it ready to assemble. Unlike plastic models, they don't come like regular sprues. They do come on these kind of resin sprue blocks. And some pieces, like these ones, like these little burst cannons, you can clip off like normal, like just get some clippers and snip, snip, and you've got the piece clipped off. Not a problem. It's when you're dealing with these big giant gates attached to some of these pieces that are bigger than infantry models. We're talking a big solid square of resin. You can't just take clippers to it. Sometimes you might damage it. Most of the work so far, honestly, has just been getting those gates off. First of all, you have to be really careful taking it off because if you go too hard, you can just snap a piece off. Resin is very brittle and can only really get off with like a saw. You can't just clip it off. This was definitely a learning experience for me. I initially tried to get at it with like a knife and clippers and see if I could like clip it off, but it really wasn't working. And I damaged a few pieces really quickly. It's minor, I could fix it, not a big deal. Then I attacked it with like a hobby modeling saw didn't really work very well. It didn't really get very far into it, and it wasn't strong enough. Next, I actually tried a Dremel, an electronic like cutter, and I tried cutting it. I went through so many saw blades. I kept breaking the saw blades, and it also kicked up a ton of dust. And resin dust is no joke. It still felt like it was taking forever though. The best tool did turn out to be this though. Did you know this is called a hacksaw? I did not. Now some of you are saying, oh, of course it's called a hacksaw. What, are you, an idiot? And I will say, I knew the word hacksaw, and I knew that saws could be called hacksaws, but I didn't know which one was which. And so it was with great embarrassment that I went to the local hardware store and said, hey, I need a saw to cut resin. And of course they asked, what are you cutting? So like they can help me out better. And I gotta say, I was a little embarrassed. Have you ever been embarrassed by your hobby? And sometimes you don't feel like explaining all the little minutia about the hobby. And so I just kind of mumble something about like, I'm doing some finishing work on the inside of the house. And to their credit, they're very handy. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well sounds like what you need is this. And they led me to a hacksaw. And so now I know what a hacksaw is. But this tool worked really well, and it cut through all the resin fairly fast, and it didn't create a lot of dust. I did use an airbrush booth to be able to suck up some of the particulates, so it was a little cleaner. Still a heck of a lot of effort to get those things off though. Once I got all the gates off, I tried to dry assemble it, as you see here, to try to see if it all fit, and it looks like most of it actually fits pretty good. There's a few tiny places where there might be some slight warping that I might have to fill with some filler, but mostly it seems like it's gonna fit. As I said, a lot of work still had to be done in it. It does look like it's gonna go together pretty well. The only piece that looks like it might have some issues is up here on this. The last thing to do was to plan out the LED placement. I'm planning on putting quite a few LEDs on here. I wanna put LEDs in the engines, inside the crew and vehicle compartments so that you can see inside, and I'm gonna try to put some running lights on the outside so it really just lights up the whole place. I really hope I don't break the thing in the process. Like, for instance, I'd love to put an LED light right here, but to do so requires me to drill through this wing, and this wing gets a little thin, and I really don't want to shatter it. So I'm gonna have to be really careful, probably use a pin vise, and probably drill really carefully and just enough so I can put some holes in there. I'm probably going to not be able to drill through the wing to put the wires though, so I'll probably have to rig up something that looks convincing on the outside for the wires. I've done a bit of LED work before on my Storm Surge and my Tiger Shark, and so I know a little bit of what's going into there, but I hope to cover all of that in a future video. One thing we're looking forward to doing is honoring a few of our patrons. We're hoping to put all of our patrons on the bottom of this thing, probably the initial to have room in Tau script written underneath or maybe printed and put underneath. We're gonna choose 48 of our patrons, some of those that have been with us for a long time since the beginning, and we're gonna put their names on each of these individual guys here as if they have little cubbies, and we're gonna name them and put them in Tau script on here. And that's just a cool way we can show thank you, because this whole purchase was actually a purchase as a milestone for getting to a certain place on Patreon. And Patreon has been an amazing place where we've gotten to know a lot of amazing people and built a real community there. And it's been an unexpected benefit of this whole thing we've been doing. It really is a huge part of how we do what we do. And if you enjoy what you see here, if you enjoy the content we create, I highly encourage you to join our Patreon. It's a huge part of our funding and directly contributes to us keeping the lights on. We have so many plans and so many things we'd love to do, and it'd be awesome if you would consider joining us for that journey. We're getting really close to be able to put paint on this, and I'm a little intimidated. We've chosen a color scheme. We're gonna go white to match my Tau, but also orange play-on markings, like the play-on orange. We are gonna do a little bit of weathering, but not too much. This should look parade ready. This should look like it's just arriving on the battlefield. It would be nice to start priming it. However, we're having some interesting weather at the time. For it all familiar with what's going on in British Columbia, Canada right now, we're experiencing severe rain, flooding, all sorts of fun stuff. And so there's never been a dry site outside where I can spray paint or do stuff like that. Some of you have asked if we're all okay. Yes, we're all okay. We're safe. The only person that's experienced some trauma has been Steve, unfortunately. He had to sleep on a couch at a friend's house for a bit. And although his model collection is safe at his house, a lot of his books unfortunately did get destroyed, it seems. So we'll see where he goes with that. He apparently keeps all his models in Tupperware containers, so he's safe there. Currently, we're actually experiencing the second rainstorm, and right now all the highways are cut off between us and him. So we've had to rejig some of the scheduling of when we're gonna film stuff because of that. But hopefully we'll have him in on some stuff really soon. Speaking of Steve, something fun to report is recently Steve, JT, and myself all went to a charity tournament local called Toss Your Capers, put on by Finley. It was pretty cool, and Steve won a pretty cool raffle prize. He won a Thunderhawk, a Forge World Thunderhawk. A lot of people wanted it, and he won it.
Helltack, I have one!
So, when we get done with all this crazy Manta stuff, I guess we get to do another unboxing and yet another build series of Thunderhawk. It could be fun. He was thinking of maybe doing Black Templar, he had some Ultramarines ideas, or maybe the Astral Cause. He's not quite sure yet. So next step here is actually to build this thing. I'm gonna have to use some epoxy glue on some of it because it's just too heavy. Like some of these pieces are hefty. I'm also probably gonna have to pin some, particularly the wings. The wings do not look strong enough to support it without maybe doing some pinning inside here. So as I said before, there is a lot of work ahead, but I am looking forward to it and it's gonna be fun. So hopefully I can get the next build video out before Squidmar releases another one. Play on.